So you're thinking about picking up Borderlands 4, but you're not sure which Vault Hunter fits your style. No worries, I've got you covered. In this video, we're breaking down all 4 characters, their unique traits, action skills, and skill trees. By the end, you'll have a pretty clear idea of who you want to roll with on day 1. Alright, let's talk about Vex, the new Siren in Borderlands 4. She's honestly one of the most versatile Vault Hunters in the lineup, because she can shift between support, summoner, or straight up powerhouse depending on which skill tree you lean into. If you're on the fence about who to play first, Vex is definitely worth looking at. Every Vault Hunter in Borderlands 4 has a unique trait that defines their playstyle. For Vex, it's called Phase Covenant. Whatever element your currently equipped gun is using, fire, shock, corrosive, whatever, that element gets tied into all of her action skills and melee damage. So if you're running a fire weapon, suddenly all your abilities are also fire-based. It's super flexible and makes Vex a natural at leaning into elemental builds. Now let's get into her 3 action skills because this is where things really branch out. First up is Phase Familiar. This one lets Vex summon her little companion, Trouble, a spectral feline that automatically attacks enemies. And don't worry, you can pet it. Trouble's not just a passive pet though. If you activate the skill again, Trouble will teleport to a target, deal damage, and then actually transform into a bigger, badder version of itself. Basically a badass tier Trouble, with a full heal and bonus damage for a limited time. It's perfect if you like the idea of always having backup on the field, and the skill tree tied to Phase Familiar is full of upgrades that make Trouble nastier, tankier, and way more useful in extended fights. The second skill is Dead Ringer. This one is all about creating clones. When you use Dead Ringer, Vex can spawn phase clone minions, and you get to choose between 2 types: Spectres, which are stationary and gun focused, or Reapers, which charge in for melee damage and can taunt enemies off of you. The cool part is that their damage type always matches whatever element you're attuned to from Phase Covenant, so you can make Fire Reapers, Shock Reapers, Corrosive Spectres, whatever fits your loadout. The clones do drain health over time, so you've got to be strategic about placement and timing, but the Dead Ringer tree lets you really specialize, like clones that explode on death, deal AoE damage, or even enhance your own survivability when they're out. If you like the idea of building your own mini army, Dead Ringer is your jam. And then there's her third skill, Incarnate. This one's for players who want raw power and survivability in one package. When you trigger Incarnate, Vex unleashes a phase explosion that damages nearby enemies and fully heals her. After that, she enters a buff state, faster movement, and access to Eldritch Blast. This is an energy attack you can fire off between your regular shots. Every time you shoot your gun, it actually reduces your cooldown on Eldritch Blast, so you're encouraged to stay aggressive. And if you decide to end Incarnate early, any remaining energy gets converted into cooldown reduction, letting you get the skill back faster. The Incarnate tree makes this even crazier, with upgrades that boost damage, extend the buff window, or let you weave in insane combos with your guns. So to sum it up, Vex is super adaptable. Phase Familiar gives you a reliable pet that grows stronger mid-fight, Dead Ringer lets you spawn customizable clones for offense or defense, and Incarnate turns you into an unstoppable force of destruction while keeping you topped off on health. Combine all of that with the Phase Covenant tying everything to your gun's element, and you've got one of the most flexible Siren builds we've seen in the series. Now let's talk about Rafa, the Exo Soldier. Honestly, this guy feels like 3 classic Borderlands characters rolled into one. Part Zero, part Accident, and part Moze, but wrapped up in a slick exosuit vibe. If agile, high-tech combat with both melee and range flair sounds like your jam, Rafa might be your go-to pick. He's that battle-ready, FPS-friendly Vault Hunter that hits at any distance. When I saw him get compared to Zero from Borderlands 2, I knew I had to try at least one playthrough with Rafa. First off, his trait, Overdrive. Whenever you pop an action skill, Rafa gets a buff for the duration, increased movement speed, and damage. So keeping that skill active is your ticket to stay blazing fast and packing a punch. He's got 3 completely different action skills, each with its own flavor. Apophis Lance is Rafa's arm cannon action. You fire piercing shock ordnance blasts in limited charges, or hold it down to charge up for bigger, faster shots, using more charges though. Unused charges convert into cooldown reduction, rewarding smart timing. The People Person tree is all about chaining gunplay, elemental synergy, and overdrive stacking. You've got skills that boost reload speed, fire rate, gun handling, and even stack buffs with critical hits. Augments let you regenerate ammo, gain extra charges, or add health regen when using the lance. Capstones can even turn your shots into incendiary beams or ricochet grenades. The remote agent tree gives you access to the Peacebreaker cannons. These are shoulder-mounted auto-firing cannons that track and shoot enemies for you, kind of like a turret backpack while you roam and shoot. You can even detach them into full-blown turret companions with the right augment. The remote agent tree leans into tech and automation. Shield regen, fire rate boost, turret buffs, indirect splash damage, armor regen, overshields, and more. One of the capstone upgrades flips your cannons into brutal shotgun-style blasts or even rockets, with ricochet mechanics baked in. This year's gimmick plays on the community's feelings on melee-style builds. Activate this and Rafa whips out dual energy blades, right trigger slashes and the left trigger dashes while shocking enemies, and a Blade Fury whirlwind to finish with style. The skill tree is all about high-tempo melee, stacking marks on enemies, dashing through crowds, regenerating health, and pulling off flashy combos with overshields and splash effects. Some players call it a little gimmicky, mostly because Borderlands has tried melee-focused Vault Hunters before, like Zero or Krieg, and they didn't always scale smoothly in the late game. It's kind of like other looter shooters experimenting with melee builds. Fun, flashy, and super satisfying when it works, but sometimes harder to balance alongside pure gunplay. To sum it up, Rafa is incredibly versatile. The Apophis Lance is your high-tempo shooter, Peacebreaker cannons give you techie, turret-enhanced playstyles, and Arc Knives turn Rafa into a fast, aggressive melee whirlwind. Mix that with the overdrive buffs, and he feels great up close or at range. Now let's talk about Amon, the Forged Knight. Imagine a massive frontline bruiser who's part Viking, part blacksmith, and all chaos on the battlefield. He's the kind of Vault Hunter who thrives up close, smashing enemies with a hammer or throwing axes while also soaking up damage. Amon isn't just about brute force though. He's surprisingly tactical thanks to his unique Forgeskill mechanic. Every one of his 3 action skills comes with a secondary effect you can trigger by holding down the action skill button. Basically, each skill gives you 2 ways to attack, letting you adapt on the fly without feeling boxed in. It's a great mix of power and strategy that makes him feel dynamic in every fight. Take Onslaughter for example. Tap the button and Amon delivers a rocket-powered Forge Fist punch, staggering enemies and boosting his shield's regeneration. But if you hold down the button, you unleash Molten Smash, slamming the Forge Hammer into the ground for explosive AoE incendiary damage. It's perfect for when you want to dive into the thick of a fight and leave a literal trail of chaos behind you. The skill tree enhances both options, letting you add extra damage, elemental effects, or even shield boost when fighting. Then there's Scourge, which leans more into defense and team support. Press the button to deploy a shield that absorbs incoming damage and builds Vengeance. Hold it and you get a Firewall, a barrier that blocks projectiles and amplifies your allies' firepower. It's a great skill for protecting teammates, controlling choke points, or just holding your ground in hectic battles. The Vengeance tree gives you perks like increased shield capacity, cooldown reduction, and even bonuses when standing near your wall. So you're rewarded for being tactical and positioning yourself well. Finally, we have Crucible, which introduces axes into the mix. Tap to throw a single Forge Axe at enemies, or hold to trigger Double Edge, a double-sided axe that deals cryo damage on the way out and incendiary damage on the way back. This skill gives Amon both ranged and melee options, letting you pick your approach depending on the fight. The Cybernetics tree takes it further, adding ricochet mechanics, enhanced crit damage, and elemental layering to make the axes feel deadly and satisfying. What makes Amon really shine is how these skills interact with each other. You can play a tank in fights by soaking up damage and building Vengeance with Scourge, or you could attack with a massive Onslaughter combo to clear enemies, or if you prefer range, you could throw axes with Crucible to finish off any stragglers, all while using Forge skills to adapt to different situations. He's a tanky bruiser, sure, but also surprisingly versatile once you start to combine his toolkit in creative ways. So if you like the idea of being front and center, smashing your way through fights with some strategic depth and elemental flair, Amon is your guy. His Forgeskill mechanic keeps you combat fresh, giving you a mix of offensive power, defensive utility, and tactical options that make every encounter feel dynamic. Finally, let's dive into Harlowe, the Gravatar. She's the brilliant Malawan scientist of the group, treating every fight like a physics experiment. Think gravity manipulation, bubbles, and elemental chaos all wrapped into one Vault Hunter who can control the battlefield like it's her personal lab. If you like feeling clever while decimating enemies without magic and instead with science, Harlowe is right up your alley. Her core trait, Entanglement, is really what sets her apart. Whenever you hit enemies with one of her action skills, they get linked together so that damage dealt to one hits them all. Imagine turning a whole crowd of enemies into one shared damage pinata. It's especially satisfying in co-op because you can chain your attacks across multiple targets and watch everything fall apart at once. 0 Point is her crowd control option. You trap a single enemy in stasis, then slam them into the ground to spread damage to nearby foes. It's perfect for taking control of a fight, disabling a particularly tough target, or setting up combo opportunities with your other skills. The Seize the Day tree upgrades 0 point with cooldown reductions, health regen for hitting entangled enemies, and even buffs that increase your critical hit chances. It rewards aggressive but calculated play, so you want to chain hits across linked enemies for maximum effect. Then there's Flux Generator, which is more about zone control. You throw down this energy field that slows enemies, deals cryo damage over time, and even shields allies within the field. It's ideal for holding a position, supporting teammates, or punishing enemies who think they can rush you. The control field tree enhances the radius, adds extra damage over time, and can even spread the status effects from entangled enemies, making it feel like a miniature laboratory experiment gone beautifully wrong. Finally, Chroma Accelerator is pure chaos. You launch a drifting energy sphere that entangles enemies as it passes through them, then detonate it for elemental damage. The Creative Burst tree adds ricochet mechanics, damage boosts, and even secondary effects like radiation or cryo explosions. This skill is all about timing and placement. You get to feel smart while also watching your enemies get obliterated in waves. So if controlling the battlefield with strategic chaos, spreading damage across groups, or supporting your team while dealing insane elemental damage sounds like your kind of playstyle, Harlowe is definitely your pick. Entanglement plus her action skills makes every fight feel tactical and satisfying, giving you the tools to dominate both solo and co-op encounters. So there you have it, all 4 Vault Hunters in Borderlands 4 broken down. Vex is your tricksy gunslinger, Rafa is the adaptable exosuit soldier, Amon is the Forge Knight brute with tactical flair, and Harlowe is the Gravatar scientist controlling the battlefield. Which one feels like you? Are you all about speed and crits, tech and turrets, brute force, or big brain crowd control? Drop your pick in the comments and let's see who comes out on top when the game launches. If you might have missed out on all the features coming in Borderlands 4, check out the video on the left. To get caught up on the entire Borderlands story, the video on the right is perfect for you.